Now, from CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede, and later in the show, I'm going to ask a question that hasn't been asked. What are the unintended consequences of Florida being a red state, especially when it comes to Cuba policy? For decades, Democrats and Republicans have decided its foreign policy towards Cuba through the prism of whether it would help them win Florida's critical electoral votes in presidential election years. But if Florida is no longer in play, if we are a red state, what happens now? We'll explore that question in a few minutes. But first, Congressman Jared Moskowitz on what he expects will happen in the Republican-controlled House.
Yeah, as it just so happens, Jim, almost all my experience is being in the minority. 6.5 years in the legislature in the minority, and then obviously being in the only Democrat in the DeSantis administration, I was in the vast minority. I mean, listen, I'm going to do what I've always done. I'm not naive. Washington's a different place. I mean, the Democrats and Republicans, as soon as they got there, we had orientation together, in an auditorium. And then when it came to social events, they immediately split us up. Democrats went this way, Republicans went that way. We had no social events together at all. So you don't even get to learn about, who's serving on the other side. What are their names? Do they have kids? What do they do for a living? What's important to them? And so the division is built into the system.
Do you think that's a mistake? Would you like to?
It is. It is a mistake because this idea that we can't, talk to the other side, meet them, find out that they're parents, or, they're a plumber, or they're a doctor, whatever, or they're a teacher, and here are the things that they care about. And by the way, here are the things we don't have in common, but here are the things we do have in common. Oh, we both like basketball, or whatever the common ground is. The fact that division is built into the system just adds to why you see people calling each other an enemy in the halls of Congress. Democrats and Republicans are not each other's enemies. The enemies are across the ocean. We are all Americans. We have serious policy disagreements on what we want for this country. But look, I'm looking to go just to fight for my democratic values, but where we can work together and where we can stop the vitriol, I'm going to work on doing it. That's how I operated in the state house. And by the way, that's how I got Republicans to vote for the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, because we didn't demonize the process and we worked together to help keep Floridians safe.
Where do you think some of those issues may lie in Washington, where you think you could work across the aisle on some of those things?
Well, listen, I think there's economic things we can do together. I mean, Democrats and Republicans want a good economy. How we get there, we might differ, but we both want a good economy. I think, keeping obviously this country, the military power that it is, I think we can work together. Standing with our ally Israel could be other areas we can work together. I do think that there is a major fentanyl issue in this country. It is coming across the border. So I do think there are ways that we can work together on securing the border, especially when it comes to fentanyl. And so I think if we can figure out where we agree and move that along rather than letting where we disagree ruin all the other areas, maybe we'll do something in this Congress. The Republicans came out, right out of the gate when it was determined that they're going to be in power. And they started talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. They didn't talk about gas prices or the price of rent or the fact that Thanksgiving is 20% more expensive this year. I hope the secret to lowering gas prices is in Hunter Biden's laptop, because if it isn't, then they're not willing to do the business of the American people. The American people voted for normal in this last election, and I'm going to go to try to fight for normal.
How surprised were you that right in the gate? I mean, it wasn't like whispered about. This was their main press conference when they were up there for orientation. They're organizing meetings. They had a press conference, and when reporters tried to ask about other things, one of the Republicans actually said, "We want to keep the focus on Hunter Biden." How surprised were you by that?
Hunter Biden's laptop, Hunter Biden's Walkman, Hunter Biden's VCR. I mean, Hunter Biden wasn't bar mitzvahed, but we'll probably get the bar mitzvah tape. This goes to show that the MAGA wing of the Republican Party doesn't stand for anything. They don't have policy issues. They don't have things that they want to work on for the American people. We just heard from the Republican Party about inflation and crime. And on day one, they don't want to do anything on inflation, and they didn't mention crime at all. It was all about Hunter Biden. So you know what? Listen, that's going to turn out to be a major political mistake for them because the American people sent a large message to the Republican Party. Other than in Florida, there was no red wave. And if they continue doing the same thing that they've been doing, which is just division and not doing the people's business in the people's house, trying to help Americans, trying to move this country forward, then 2 years from now, they'll see the same result in the election and they'll wind up losing power.
I'm interested in getting your perspective on what occurred in Florida. Ron DeSantis's victory by 19 points. He actually won your congressional district. You won it by 6 points. He actually won it in terms of the numbers who voted for him. Give me your take. Give me your perspective on what the results of this year's governor's race shows about Florida.
Florida's a red state. We've been moving that direction. Donald Trump obviously won Florida. Donald Trump did very well in Dade County in the last election, and Ron DeSantis won Dade County. Ron DeSantis won Palm Beach County. We had a great candidate in Val Demings. She had raised an unlimited amount of money. She lost by 17 points. And so why do I think that happened? I mean, there's a couple of things that I think Democrats, don't want to accept. And the largest one that I think Democrats don't want to accept, but it is reality here in Florida, is that people think Ron DeSantis did a good job with COVID. They're happy with the response. They're happy that schools were open. They're happy that businesses were open. They may disagree. They may think those things should have been closed or that mask mandates should have been longer, right? And they may be right on some of those things. But at the end of the day, the voters have clearly spoken. You don't win by 19 points because you did a terrible job with COVID. You don't win by 19 points because people think that they wanted their schools closed or they wanted businesses closed longer. So that's something Democrats who have been for years now since COVID have been hitting the governor on his decisions. And they're just unfortunately wrong. The voters are happy with the governor's response on COVID. Additionally, if you look at the numbers, you see that there was not so much a red wave as there was a blue nap. People stayed home. They did not come out and vote. People are going to have to look at why that happened. They're going to have to do focus groups. Was it the candidates that didn't get people out? Why was it minority turnout, bigger? Did Democrats stay home because they didn't want to vote for Ron DeSantis, but they also weren't excited about their own candidates? We're going to have to ask those questions.
Last question I want to ask. I know this has been a difficult year from you. Your father passed away about a year ago. This was always something that he had hoped for you, that you would make it to Congress. Obviously, I'm sure you feel him in spirit, but talk to me about all of this as it relates to, as you look, and remember your father as well. How emotional time has this been for you when you were up there in DC for the first time as a congressman-elect?
Yeah, look, there's no better way to say it than it sucks. I mean, it sucks that, something that we talked about for a long period of time. Like my dad didn't talk about, him teaching me to play golf. It wasn't very good. And we didn't do basketball together. This is what we did together. This was the thing. We did public service and politics and government. And this is something we talked about for a long period of time. The idea that he just missed it. He died in January and I started running for office, 45 days later. It just sucks. But look, I also recognize I am where I am because of him. I'm the person I am because of him. I try to work across the aisle where I can because my dad, instilled in me that, Republicans, we disagree. I think they're wrong. It doesn't mean that they're evil. That's who I've been. That's what, people in Florida saw, when I was the director of emergency management, and that's what they're going to see in Washington. I'm going to represent, what I think they want. And those are the values that, he instilled in me. So my job now is to go make him proud, to go to Washington and do a really good job as a congressman. But obviously, Jim, it's something I won't get over that he missed it.
When we come back, the unintended consequences of Florida turning red. Stay with us.